Have you ever wondered what makes bodies tick? Are you creating the sexual reality you desire and require? Would you like to know more about what else is possible with bodies? What if your fantasies are not as strange as you thought they were? What if you could learn to be kinder to your body and kinder to others' bodies? Would you like to create confidence in the bedroom and beyond? How has your sex life or lack of it affected other areas of your life? Have you lost your mojo and wondered where to find it? Everyone has the potency to be a sexual superhero. Get ready to listen, sense, and play with the sexualness that is you. Now, here is the host of The Pleasure Zone, Body Whisperer, Milica Jelenic.
Hey guys, it looks like we're having a little bit of trouble with Milica's line right away. Interesting. This is Carol, the producer of Milica's show, The Pleasure Zone. We're going to have her call back in right away. But in the meantime, let me give you a little bit of an idea of what Milica's all about. Our darling Milica is a really cool host, and she's opened up a whole world of pleasure and receiving, I know for me, and I'm pretty sure for the other listeners on this channel. What is pleasure? Oh, Milica, are you here?
Hi. Wow, that was interesting. I had some
interesting
technical difficulties.
You're all good. I was about to start telling everybody all about you, but since you're here, you can do that. I'll go mute. Have fun.
Thanks, Carol. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Pleasure Zone. It's always different, and you never know who's going to be online with me. Thank you, Carol, for stepping in and stepping up. Today, actually, it's been a really funny day because I had a guest that was going to be on the show, Daria Hansen, and she was not available at the last minute. Actually, I haven't been able to locate her all day. So I know she's actually really busy hosting some stuff. So I think that is kind of took precedent. And it took precedent over a bunch of other things she was doing today that she ended up not doing. So I hope that we'll have her on another day with maybe another topic. In the meantime, Carol was about to introduce me. So I do a lot of different things. One of my most fun things to do is work with bodies and people and bring awareness to myself through facilitating others. It's awesome. I get to be more aware through facilitating others. So, it's one of those like old adages, healer, heal thyself, teacher, teach thyself, all those things. It's kind of like that. So for me, facilitating others is like such an amazing way to bring more awareness to me. And also, even when it comes to like the energy work that I do, my body receives just as much as the person that is on the table also getting sessions. So one of the things I often get as questions from people is, how do you do like 10-hour days of energy work? And for me, I walk away from like amazing 10-hour days of energy work feeling totally alive, totally awake, and totally excited. It's actually one of my capacities is to be able to like do that. And for me, it was just like, hey, how can you not do that? And what I'm starting to become more and more aware of is that a lot of the things that I just kind of take for granted, that, hey, doesn't everybody do that, is actually a capacity that I have. So a lot of abilities as well. So some of them are abilities and we all have capacities, and some of them are abilities as well that are just like naturally ingrained, inborn. So it's like, you can be like an amazing artist, you could be a phenomenal runner, all of those things are like abilities that you have. So we all have the capacity to tap into them if we choose to. So tonight, on the topic of receiving more in sex and money, we're also going to tap into a little bit of how you can utilize your capacities to receive more in sex and money. For me, I've been looking at a lot of different things lately that I have capacities with. And I'm choosing to create money with so many different streams of income. It's just like funny and fun for me, because I've most of my life, tried to be really linear and try to fit into this reality. And I tried to do the regular job thing, which totally didn't work for me. I tried in several different ways and several different occasions to do the 9 to 5. And every time I tried it, there was something that just wasn't enough. So I'd have to create 3 sideline jobs just to kind of keep me occupied. My brain is like constantly on the move. And you might notice, like when I'm on the show, I talk pretty fast. So I'll try and kind of slow it down for everyone, because it reminds me, there used to be this show, the Gilmore Girls, and they spoke at like 10 times the speed of any other show. And it's kind of like that for me. So I'm kind of like the Gilmore Girls on crack, and I'm constantly like, and that's one of my capacities, is to be super fast at certain things. So, and then sometimes not so fast at others. So the things I'm super fast at are some of my capacities, and some of those are working with energy and working with bodies. And some of those things with working energy and bodies is that some of my things that I'm capable of doing and able to do is create huge shifts in bodies really quickly, where sometimes people would say require 5 years of rehab to be able to get movement or something. I can usually do it a lot faster, like maybe a few weeks, maybe a few sessions, maybe even only one session. You never know. But I actually have the capacity to kind of like go in and find out what's going on, and go to the kind of like the center of it and ask it if it's willing to go. And sometimes it's not. So for people who are really willing to let it go, it's awesome, and it can be really fast. So one of the things I just wanted to let you guys know, that's kind of like some of the stuff I do. And I know if you've listened to this show before, you've heard me describe the work I do. It's kind of like having yoga done to you is the body movement that I do, and then the energy work I do is bars, which is 32 points on the head, that when you gently touch them, it releases tons of stuff that's been limiting you in your life. And I recently worked with a woman who is a Reiki master, Karuna Reiki master as well. She does like 3 different kinds of energy work. She's also she's also a martial artist like I am, and she travels around the world teaching martial arts classes. And this woman is like really keen on energy, and she's really aware of it. And I did 2 sessions with her, and she sent an email out to like everybody she knew. It was so incredible, saying that in the 2 sessions that I did with her, that it facilitated so much more ease in her life and in her body, where everybody knows that she was the person who's like on edge all the time, because she was trained to be on edge from all of her life experiences, to be kind of like always on high alert. And so we kind of talked about like, what if you can be aware instead of on high alert? And for her, it was like, holy crap, like that was so big for her. There was so many other things that we worked on, and they're really, really dynamic sessions. So for her, she's like sent it out to everybody and anybody that she's ever worked with, worked on, or taught classes to, and she's so thrilled for all the changes that are coming into her life with bars. And so for any of you, and all of you who have ever or never tried the bars and you love it, or you'd like to try it, go to accessconsciousness.com and see who's a practitioner in your area. If you happen to be anywhere in the world and you feel like I would be so freaking cool to work with, let me know. Contact me. And there are so many other amazing facilitators in the world. So please check out accessconsciousness.com. The bar is amazing, and I just love that this woman who had the session with me twice, her life is exponentially expanded in the last month and a half. She was telling me her business struggled. I was like, wow, I want to do a session on me if that's what it's going to get. So it was kind of funny. Like, I do get that I have capacities that way too. So with and abilities to facilitate a lot of change in people's lives. So tonight, I'd like to talk a little bit more about how so one of the people in the chat room was like, no joke, sign me up. Okay, well, I'm in. So a lot of the things that that I'm looking at tonight with regards to receiving more in sex and in money is how you can be you in those things. So the more you really step into your capacities, the more you're actually you. The more you're choosing your capacities, you're more you. So every day, if you don't even know what your capacities are, like I'm just starting to get what they are, and I've been on this amazing call with Carolina Vanderway, who has a phenomenal ability to get people to facilitate more awareness for people and becoming more aware of what their capacities are. And so this call that she's been doing, and I hope that she does another one, is called Bring Out Your Capacities. And it's been amazing. And as I've been listening to it, I've been becoming more and more aware of how many capacities I have, how many abilities I have, and how many gifts and talents I have that I wasn't even aware of. It's really a phenomenal call. And I do hope she's doing another one, because today was like last week, the last day of it. So that I've been listening to them. One of the things that I started to become more and more aware of is all these things that I just kind of took for granted. That it was like, oh yeah, whatever, that's ease. Like everybody can do that, can't they? Those are really where we have a lot of capacities, gifts, and talents. So for you, in your life, if you're really willing to receive more, would you be willing to ask even like, what are my talents, capacities, and gifts? And ask the universe to show you. And one of the amazing things I got out of that call too was to actually ask other people, to ask energy, just, hey universe, can you get other people to just present to me or show me in some way what my talents, gifts, and capacities are? And as I've been asking that, I've had like really funny responses from people that I love it. It's just cracking me up. Like I've had beautiful, amazing clients tell me things about myself that I was like, really? You know this? And it's like the hearts are just like pouring open, and they're saying things, and I'm like, wow, it's amazing. Like this client I was telling you about, that her life changed. I have another amazing client who just is forever telling me amazing things that he sees in me and about me. I'm so grateful for him, and he always listens to the show. So thumbs up to you. You know who you are. And I adore you. And I have like so many amazing people in my life, and I'm so grateful for them. And they're always willing. So many of them are always willing to just be the vulnerability in the space to show me what my talents, abilities, and gifts are, to just be that space that I can see myself more. I can be myself more. So part of it too is like, who are you? Who are you choosing to put, your energy into hanging out with? Like, are they people who are going to allow you to see more of you, to be more of you? Or do you squash yourself when you're around them and try to hide everything you know about you? Like, if you're totally phenomenal at something, is it a good idea to squash that around people so they're more comfortable? Are you willing to step up and like actually make people a little uncomfortable around you just because you are being you, and then it kind of will tweak something in their universe to maybe be a little bit more of them, even if they think it's totally strange. So I was mentioning to somebody today just about how I got known as this bum squeeze hugger, and it actually started in a class when I worked on a woman and I did a body process, and I was holding her bum, and her body was asking for me to hold her bum and put my finger in her belly button, so I did. I was like, wow, that's interesting. And the next day to class, and she started yelling at me, like, she went, it's your fault. I was like, what are you talking about? She said, my dresses don't fit me anymore. And I thought, oh, what the hell? I don't know what's going on. She said, they're 4 sizes too big, and I just had them tailored. And now look at this. And I was like, wow. Okay, so you're not mad at me because this is what you were asking for. I just happened to be the space that allowed her body to change in that way. I had no point of view about it. I actually had no point of view about any of it. So when we come back from break, we'll talk more about these things where we actually have no point of view about it, and we're actually totally magic, and how that can actually allow us to receive more in sex and money.
Many of us have created a lot of limitations around sex and what we are willing to choose. Would you be willing to explore what has already been introduced as sexual practices on this planet? What else is possible beyond what we have already seen, heard, or thought of? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual revolution? Taking the taboo out of all aspects of sex, sexuality, and copulation. By tuning into the Pleasure Zone radio show with body whisperer Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on a2zen.fm.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that when run assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bars session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
What does optimal cell health mean, and how can you create it? Pulsed electromagnetic field therapy by Swiss Bionics can improve your well-being in every area of your life. The PEMF mat stimulates cells to move and create space between cells for optimal cell function. How does it get better than that? Use 2 to 3 times per day for 8 minutes will improve circulation and immune function. Cell metabolism and repair begins, and mobility also will increase. Do you desire better health? If you're interested or would like a session, call 613-473-3805 or in Toronto. Call or text 416-253-1617. Monthly rentals start at only $300 per month. Is now the time to choose optimal cell health?
This is The Pleasure Zone with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, please call us in the U.S. Call 815-880-8255-TALK or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at a2zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask for comment by email by sending to Milica at milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Pleasure Zone. I'm your host, Milica Jelenic. And just before break, I was telling you guys about one of my capacities and abilities with bodies, and that I kind of, didn't really think about it too much when I was in a class one day and I was working on somebody and their body had this amazing transformation. So one of the things I kind of stepped into that day was that people were going, hey, you're holding that lady's bum. Will you hold my bum? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I literally had half the class was asking me to hold their bum. And I kind of became known as the bum holder after that. Because then I would go to other classes and would say, hey, you were at that class and you held my bum. Will you hold my bum again? I'm like, sure. And then other people were like, hey, will you hold my bum? I'm like, okay. So I started offering bum holdings. So, what I wasn't even aware of is that I have, I wasn't even aware that, people actually desire my touch. I actually, for most of my life, had such a judgment that I was so much, not only just the ugly duckling, but also that I would hurt people, that I, so many things, whatever I did was going to destroy people. I had so many points of view about that when people allowed me to not just touch them, but hold their bum, that's kind of vulnerable, and work on their bodies. All of that for me was such an amazing gift, and to have people see that in me and to choose it for me is such an amazing gift. So when you're really kind of playing with your capacities and asking, hey, what are my capacities? Show me what my capacities are. You might start to notice that as you start to choose them, that more money starts to come. It's kind of one of those funny things. The more you step into you, the more kind of money starts to show up. Because guess what? Usually when you're playing with your capacities, it's kind of possible that you just might be having more fun than usual. It's like when you're not really playing with your capacities and you're trying to blow down the street and, Joe Blow, who knows what he does? He could be doing stuff that you really hate, but you're thinking, I'm going to be like Joe because, Joe's got the car in the garage that looks really sweet. He's got, the 7 lovers that I heard about, and you're kind of like, Joe's got a kind of cool life. If I do what Joe does, then I'm going to have what Joe has. That's actually not how it works. So what if you don't copycat people? How many of us have actually been taught to copycat everybody else? I actually watch my daughter copycat me all the time. And I'm like, hey, will you just be you? And she's kind of like, oh. I'm like, right, cool. Because every once in a while, it's like, this is how we're taught on this planet to fit in with people, is that we're supposed to kind of either melt ourselves, merge ourselves, submit ourselves, and just become somebody else so that we can have this equal playing field. So everybody, there's no you being you. There's more like, oh, I'm going to be Joe Blow instead, because then he'll be my friend. And if I'm his friend, then I'll be in the special club. And if I'm in the special club, I'll get the things that he has. None of that's true. Even though when you look at how society works and how reality works, you would think that if you did that, that's how it's going to show up in your life. And yeah, it might be sort of true for this reality, but will that actually bring you joy? Will you have money, or will you just make it and spend it? Or will you even not make it? So one of the things that I wonder about a lot is what are my talents, gifts, and capacities? And for about the last 2 months, I've been really playing with what are my talents, gifts, and capacities? And I've come up with this crazy list. And some of the things are so funny. They're so randomly funny. I have an amazing ability to make things that are inanimate, animate. I can creep people out with puppets. I can creep people out with stuffed animals because everything comes to life. And then I was like, wait a minute. It's really interesting that when I touch something, I animate it and it comes to life. What other capacities do I have with bringing things to life? What is it that I have there that's actually beyond just making a puppet get really creepy and realistic? The energy I put into things actually makes them come alive. Oh, cool. So what is that? So, I was diminishing it, going, oh, it's just, I just play with puppets, or I just, I can do this, and, I can make rock talk to you. I can do these really weird things that is almost creepy and realistic in a lot of ways. So, if you have some really odd things that you do, you might just have a capacity in that area. And then if you ask, what else is this capacity showing me? Where else can I utilize this capacity? What is the energy behind this capacity? You're going to start to find that there are so many other things that are part of that. So when I say that I can bring inanimate things to life, I also have a capacity to bring other things to life that I wasn't really acknowledging. So as I started to acknowledge it, it's actually brought other things to life as well. So as I've started to acknowledge that, I have a capacity that when I put energy into something, it comes to life. So guess what? I'm not the only one with that capacity. It's a capacity. And I'm also starting to notice that I have an ability with it that I wasn't choosing. It's kind of like if Mozart never played the piano, would we have known what an amazing composer he was? No. So probably not, right? So, but if you actually start playing with the things that, you have a capacity, and then you start to notice you have an ability, as you start to play with your abilities and utilize them more and more and more and more, you're going to start to notice that not only are they fun, they're also going to contribute to expanding your life and your money flows. And what's really funny and fun about having more life and more money flows? You're usually so freaking happy that everybody wants to do you. It's the freaking beauty of it. like even today, I got the most unusual, what's the word for it? Proposal, on Facebook from a woman, and I have to say I haven't had one of those before on Facebook from a woman. I mean, in person, yes, but on Facebook, no. And it was very interesting that this person that I don't actually have never met was very aware of the capacity that I have. So it's interesting that people have, like, they can pick up energies of things and they don't even, sometimes they're not even aware of what they're saying. But the woman actually said to me, because she was flirting with me, I was like, hey, that's cool. How's it get better than that? And at first I was doing this, like, I kind of contorted myself and I was getting all awkward. I'm like, this is odd, and I was judging it. And I was like, okay, what if I just received this? Like, what if I received a woman flirting with me on Facebook, asking me out and willing to travel from America to have a session with me so that I could touch her? I'm like, what would that be like? I was like, oh, that's interesting. Has this been, like, what I've been asking for, is people traveling around the world desiring to have sessions with me? How very cool. How does it get better than that? So through this, like, interesting interaction I had, I actually became also that I do have this, like, people kind of see things in me that I don't see in me. So this person saw in me that apparently that she was aware that I have a capacity with bodies and touch, and that she was, like, really asking for that in the most intimate way. And I was like, wow, that's interesting, and thank you, and how does it get better than that? So, you know me, I was like, here's my website, these are my rates, how to get better than that? And the conversation didn't end, which surprised me, because usually the conversation ends there. No, she was like, wow, so do you, like, move bodies? Like, what do you do? I'm just so excited, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wow, that's phenomenal. Like, you know, I've had men say stuff like that to me before, but a woman, woohoo, that's so cool. So I was, like, really excited that I could even receive, like, compliments, flirting, and all of this other stuff from a woman who was being really, like, almost demanding of my energy and very sincere about it. And it was, like, kind of interesting that that was showing up. I was just like, cool. So if I actually choose to play with this, what can show up in my life? And it was kind of like, oh, what if I have an amazing capacity to just make people feel really good and horny when I talk to them? Cool. And it's not the first time I've heard this, so I'm like, hey, cool. That is actually maybe an ability I have. How does it get better than that? And of course, you know, that only dawned on today, to be quite frank. Like, wow, I'm now 40 years old, and it just dawned on me that I might actually be able to turn people on just by saying things that are funny. You know, I knew I was good at sexting, but good at it just in that I can get really raunchy and be as strange as the other person, but to actually be willing to be me and to do that at the same time was very fun, because normally I get into their universe and supply them with everything they want to hear, and then I kind of back off. So how about next time, just be you when it comes to flirting, instead of tapping into their universe and their reality and giving them what they want. Just be you and see what you're willing to, see who you truly are and what you're willing to receive. And what if your capacities could show up in the bedroom? So what are they? Like, you know, are you OCD? And how does that, you know, how can that contribute to you in the bedroom? You know, are you ADHD? How can that contribute to you in the bedroom? And all of these things too, like, how can they contribute to your money flows? So when we come back from break, we'll talk a little bit more about how you can bring in all of your talents, capacities, and be all of that to be more of you, to receive more in sex and money. And we'll do that when we come back from break.
Many of us have created a lot of limitations around sex and what we are willing to choose. Would you be willing to explore what has already been introduced as sexual practices on this planet? What else is possible beyond what we have already seen, heard, or thought of? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual revolution? Taking the taboo out of all aspects of sex, sexuality, and copulation. By tuning into the Pleasure Zone radio show with body whisperer Milica Jelenic, You'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on a2zen.fm.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that when run assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bar session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
What does optimal cell health mean, and how can you create it? Pulsed electromagnetic field therapy by Swiss Bionics can improve your well-being in every area of your life. The PEMF mat stimulates cells to move and create space between cells for optimal cell function. How does it get better than that? Use 2 to 3 times per day for 8 minutes will improve circulation and immune function. Cell metabolism and repair begins, and mobility also will increase. Do you desire better health? If you're interested or would like a session, call 613-473-3805 or in Toronto. Call or text 416-253-1617. Monthly rentals start at only $300 per month. Is now the time to choose optimal cell health?
This is The Pleasure Zone with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, please call us in the U.S. Call 815-880-8255-TALK or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at a2zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask for comment by email by sending to Milica at milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Hi everyone, welcome back to The Pleasure Zone. I'm your host, Milica Jelenic, and today our topic is receiving the money and sex you desire. And part of that for me was to kind of bring you guys into a space where you can be more aware of what it is that, so some of the tools about how, utilizing your capacities, your gifts, and your talents to actually receive more in, sex and money. On this show, we've talked about before receiving more in sex, and a lot of it had to do with like elements of intimacy. So being vulnerable, being honoring of you, trusting you, all of those elements of intimacy that we've talked about before. So, a lot of that, when you're being all of that with you can start to tap into more of what your capacities, abilities, and talents are. You start to honor you. You're going to actually really listen to what your talents, gifts, and capacities are. When you trust you, you're going to, if you're highly intuitive and you start to really trust you instead of denying everything that you know, then your intuition or your knowing is really going to contribute to, not only who you're choosing to have sex with, but also, with work and what you're choosing and who you're choosing to work with in order to bring in the money you desire. So would you be willing to use all those elements of intimacy with you? And those are actually capacities that we all have. And what if some of us have more abilities that are tied into those capacities? And so that's a little different. When you have like an ability, it's like something that you're just like innately good at. It's an ability, like a capacity. We're all capable of anything. Not all of us are able to do everything, but we're all capable of anything. So, like, for example, my body didn't really enjoy running. but my body thoroughly enjoys swimming. So, and I have an ability for swimming. So, am I capable of running? Yes. Does my body enjoy it? Nope. I enjoy, driving fast cars and other things. And my driving record would prove that. So, I've got a few things that I do have abilities with, and we all have things we have abilities with. So definitely, if you're really looking to make your life small, don't ask about your abilities and capacities. If making your life extremely small and fitting into a box works for you, do ask what your capacities, abilities, or talents are, because that would just explode your universe into something way too big for you to handle. So just don't do it. So for any of you who are even considering trying that, what are my talents, gifts, and capacities, universe, can you just present things to me today and show me the way? And are you willing to ask for the beauty to show up, and for you to be able to see more, and to just know what all those things are for you? Because we have so many of them, sometimes we just don't even know what they are anymore. And we can look at others and just pinpoint them pretty fast. Maybe not everybody can do that. It is one of my abilities, is that I can usually look at somebody, and after a 5-minute conversation, I have an awareness of what they're really amazing with. Again, that's maybe part of my training. So what are you really amazing with? And what is it so natural to you that you don't even think twice about it? So before we went to break, I kind of talked about OCD and ADHD. These are all things in Access Consciousness. We talk about X-Men. And so these are kids with super talents that are ADHD, OCD, ADD, all of that stuff. And so they're actually kids with super talents. They don't have a lack of abilities. They actually have phenomenal abilities. So what about you? What I started to become aware of is that I have capacities with ADHD, and I have capacities with OCD, and I have a little bit of capacities with autism as well. So one of the things that it's kind of cool, I'm like, wow, how many, if I were to go back into school as a student, which I often have nightmares about, if I were to do that, I would probably have a godzillion labels on my head for everything that I be. Where I was lucky enough in school to have teachers that recognized my abilities and capacities. Instead of diminishing them, they actually acknowledged them and kind of encouraged me to do them even more and more and more. So I had this OC habit with numbers, and so I was put into advanced math classes, and I still have an OCD habit with math and numbers. And when you look at it, people who do anything with numbers, like accountants, it's an amazing thing to have, is an OCD habit with numbers, to be that accurate with numbers, that can put that much energy. It's not even a lot of energy. It's not it's exhausting. It's just it's super fast, and then you're well, numbers, awesome, and they're fun, and they can be sort of a linear way to calm my brain down. So for me too, using capacities like that, my OCD capacities, and I used to, which I'm much more tame about it now. I had OCD capacities about cleaning, which was great, except for not everybody can live in a hyper sterile environment. So now I'm way more relaxed about it. I also have, which I still enjoy, I have an OCD habit with color coordinating things. So if you do happen to have these things in your life, if you can look at them and kind of go, okay, well, what can I, where and how can I utilize these today to bring not only more awareness to me, but also to bring money in a new and different way. So just ask for it. Asking is definitely one of the things that can start to open up your universe to receive more in both money and sex. So ask, It's like if you see somebody that you're really attracted to, and neither of you ever asks the other one to even go out or to engage in copulation, like you could just be standing there, two people in a room saying nothing. You're not willing to read the energy of anything, so part of it is to ask a question and then take an action. So we're going to take those two people standing at each other like blank, like deer in headlights looks. And then one of them goes, oh, wait a minute. And they have this awareness. Oh, I can ask a question. So they go, hey, how are you? And the other person's walls start to come down. They're like, oh, hey, I'm doing okay. Cool. So now they can take an action. So the person who first asked the question takes a step forward. And that actually encourages and invites the other person to take a step forward. And the next thing you know, the person asks, hey, would you like to go out? And the other person says yes or no. Either way, that person took an action and asked a question. So part of it is you ask a question and then take an action. So you can ask like a gazillion questions all you like, but if you're not willing to take any action, nothing is going to show up. So for me, I love asking questions. And I'm also one of those people who sometimes, I create ideas like crazy. And me, it's like knowing is now the time to take the action. So lately I have been more aware of now is the time to take action on certain things that I had awarenesses about years ago. Some of them were awarenesses I had when I was a child, and I'm now's the time. So how aware are you of futures too that you think it's now because you perceive it, but how aware are you of actually things that are going on in the future for your future that will generate money and more sex in your future too? So what if it's not now just because you feel it? What if it's actually for your future? And what if the things that you're perceiving now that you think are now are actually also stepping stones to things for your future? So sometimes we assume that it's that and this is the guy. That's it, because the sex was phenomenal. That's the guy. Well, what if this is like, a next step in your life? And you choose this person and you play with them for a while, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, cool, thank you. Just being with you has opened me up to a whole new possibility of something else, of someone else, or whatever, or myself, even more of me. How to get better than that? So when you're willing to kind of ask those questions and then take an action, when the time is, when the energy matches the time. So it's not that the time is right. There's this like match of the energy. So I'll ask, is now the time for such and such a project? And they'll go, yeah, or not yet. And so I follow that. We all have the capacity to do that. Some of us maybe have a greater ability on it than others, and some of us may have a lesser ability on it than others. So what are your talents, gifts, and capacities? Just ask, because some of them are things that you would just think are so obscure and so like, well, that's not a talent. Oh, I'm like OCD with germs and I like cleaning toilets. Well, what if you had the most phenomenal toilet cleaning business on the planet? Because how many people hate that? So, you can look at, like, what are you really OCD with and how can that actually generate money for you? Or what are you really ADHD with? Like, every time you're, supposed to be doing, if you're a teenager listening to the show, if you're an adult at work listening to the show, and you're trying to, do your work, what distracts you? What do you find that your mind keeps going to with your ADHD habits? Like, what is that energy that's pulling you? And are you willing to actually follow it? Because what if it's going to bring you to something even greater? What if it'll add to your life? What are you aware of that people say is a distraction? What if it's an awareness? And what if you follow it? I have them like all the time. It's chronic. Even when I speak on the radio, I go on 45 tangents, and I've had guests say that like talking to me is kind of like riding a wild stallion because you never know where it's going to take you. So I'm like, I know, because it's how my brain functions. I'm in 45 directions all at once. And for me, it's just the way that, it's one of my talents is I can run into every direction possible. And I will always come up with something or some awareness out of it. So would you be willing to just be a total freak and just like run like a wild stallion, not knowing where the wind's going to take you just because you have a capacity with following energy? So I am, and it's really fun for me to just like be totally flying on the wind like today. and this class, this radio show, I've already seen it create a class. That's why I said that. This is how far in the future I am. And I'm like going, okay, cool. So when I got on the radio, I was telling my producer, I have no idea what this show is about. In fact, the person I was having on as a guest, I was like, well, she knows what this topic is about. I've heard her speak on it. She's amazing with it. And my producer, Carol, said, well, what do you know about this topic? I'm like, I don't think I know anything about this topic. And I was like, wait a minute, actually, maybe I do. So how about we don't jump to conclusions on things anymore and ask, like, what do I actually know about this? What do you know about anything that you think you know nothing about? How much of it did you even possibly invent or create in a past that you're trying to avoid? So yeah, how much did I invent even anything to do with sex and money going together? And cool, and how does it get better than that? So yeah, whatever it is I'm creating for the future with this class, I'm saying it again, it's a class again for this radio show. That's really funny. Okay, cool. If anybody would like a class on this, let me know. Maybe there's a telecall in here. And in the meantime, I'm going to let my producers take me to break because now I'm like 3 minutes over. And then when we come back, I'll close this off.
Many of us have created a lot of limitations around sex and what we are willing to choose. Would you be willing to explore what has already been introduced as sexual practices on this planet? What else is possible beyond what we have already seen, heard, or thought of? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual revolution? Taking the taboo out of all aspects of sex, sexuality, and copulation. By tuning into the Pleasure Zone radio show with body whisperer Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on a2zen.fm. This is The Pleasure Zone with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, please call us in the U.S. Call 815-880-8255-TALK. Or Canada, 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at a2zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask for comment by email by sending to Milica at milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pleasure Zone. I'm your host, Milica Jelenic, and today we've been talking about receiving the money and sex you desire. So I'm just wondering, what is the money and sex you desire? So now that we're at the end of the show, and I've kind of given you some tips on, I kind of do things backwards. Here's the answer to equation A squared plus B squared equals C squared, and now this is how we got the answer. So it's not necessarily an answer, it's just an awareness that, as we use our talents, gifts, and capacities, the more we step into that, the more we be us, the more we can receive in money and sex. So what is that for you? How much money do you desire? How much more money than you have right now do you desire? How much more sex and copulation and joy and embodiment and touch and caressing do you desire that you're not receiving right now? And what capacities do you have that can actually bring that to you? What abilities do you have that you can utilize to bring that to you, to generate that for you, to have that show up in your life with total ease? Like, what are they for you? So for me, it's like, wow, I have, I really enjoy money now. Money's like fun for me. I'd like to roll in it. I'd like to, make some sheets out of it for fun and, wear it as a bra just because I could. And like all those fun things I could do with money that, how fun is money? It's just like neat, really feeling kind of stuff. It's really cool energy. And, there's a lot of judgments I have about it as well that I'm kind of working through. So one of the things that, as we judge things, we put walls up to them. So I'm kind of breaking down all the judgments of what sex and money and how they're together too. It's like wherever we've associated sex, getting money for sex, or that if you receive sex, then then you don't require money. Like wherever we separated them into two different places or two different universes, wherever we put them together and said that they have to always be together, or that the energy of them are all receiving. So the funny thing about money and sex is that it's actually all about receiving. For me, it's something that I've been playing with a lot and wondering about a lot is, if I'm choosing to be more of me, what does that look like? And I wonder what my capacities are, and I wonder what would my life look like in 5 years if I choose any of these things that I have awarenesses on, and is now the time for any of them? So a lot of the things that I play with are like, what is that? I wonder what that is. Would that like show up now? Would that it's a lot of it is like wonder and curiosity. So what if you take that energy of wonder and curiosity and bring that into the bedroom? So, yeah. So Keisha was saying in the chat room, how about no more of the either or? Let's have the and. Yeah, like and this and that, and like what can we add to our lives? So if all of that stuff, we have all of these amazing, amazing abilities and capacities and things that we can receive more of. And so, even, how can you bring these talents, gifts? Like if you're amazingly OCD, what if you can bring that into the bedroom and you're so freaking phenomenal at detail for somebody who really likes a lot of attention, that you can gift them that kind of intense attention that they desire? Like how amazing would that be for a body to receive if they're asking for that? And what is it, so we can kind of check the energy on people too and just like, hey, this is what I'd like to receive. Are you capable of gifting that to me? Or, and am I capable of gifting it to myself first? So how many of us even forget that we are actually an amazing gift that we can gift to ourselves? I do that randomly. I forget that I can actually gift to me and that I can ask. So remember to ask, receiving more and more and more. My daughter has no qualms about asking me 5 million times, hey, Mommy, do you want an Easter egg? Hey, Mommy, do you want what about this Easter egg? What about this one? What do you want, a candy? Want one of this? And like the million questions of, would you like this? Would you like that? Would you like to play? Would you like to watch this movie? What about this movie? Like it's constant, like choosing more, like in the 5 second increments with her. So would you be willing to ask that many questions constantly, to choose more, to change more, to have more? And it's like constantly asking. So it's not that you have to ask out loud, just ask, now what would I like to receive? Who would be fun to play with? All of these things that can expand your universe, expand your money flows, expand your copulation flows. I like that one. And all the flows that come after copulation and during and all that stuff. Oh, yeah. So I got 15 seconds left to say thank you so much, everybody, for listening tonight. You can find me on my website at www.milicajelenic.com. And you can book sessions there, too. You can just send me an email. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you for choosing to listen to The Pleasure Zone. Milica Jelenic will return next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by choosing to be turned on and tuned in to your body.